Hi, Christopher Lloyd here with the first video for my website with my announcement about what I'm doing with my settlement check from the Indianapolis Star. For those who have been following my blog for these past few months, you're probably aware of what's going on. For those who aren't, myself and obviously a bunch of other people were laid off from the Indianapolis Star back in December. 7 of us were determined to have been done so in violation of the seniority rules, and so the union grieved it and the process was moving forward. We were set to have an arbitration hearing in July, and then that was delayed until September. Unfortunately, this was also a contract year for the union, so they've been trying to hash out an agreement, and in all the versions that the company put forward, one of their demands was that they drop the arbitration for the 7 of us. And the most recent go-around was the union offered to drop our case in exchange for a slightly less onerous pay cut, 10% instead of 12%. And in return, the 7 of us would get a small monetary settlement. Now, the size of the settlement, as most people who have been involved in the process know, is extraordinarily tiny, almost not enough to even be worth mentioning. But that was not the real objection for me and for the others. The real objection was that we were not involved in the process, that we were waiting for our hearing, and that's what we wanted. And we really didn't feel like anybody should be, using us as a bargaining chip in contract negotiations. The way I look upon it is that the parties involved are basically gotten together and said, it is more convenient for us to sell away these rights, to barter them away, and if I were to take the money, it would be, here's your cut, kid. Now, I've obviously talked to various people about this, friends and family that I hold close, and told them about my plan. I said, if this thing passes, I'm not taking the check. And the opinion, except for my wife, pretty much universal, has been, you're being stubborn and mule-headed, and, what are you proving by not taking the money, and so on and so forth. I think they make a good point. What they basically say is, you did everything in your power to stand up for their rights, and I say, thank you. I appreciate it. I think so too. But they're saying that you should just take the money because, the process is done and you did all you could and you're not getting very much, but hey, take the money because it's something. So as this has played out, it's actually gotten me thinking about the concept of principle and what that really means. I think it means different things to different people. The way people look at standing on your principle is, in books and television shows and movies and newspaper articles, it usually works out that the person who stands up on principle wins. That, they get their way, or on some way their point is held as being legitimate, and people pat them on the back and say you're doing a great thing. So that's really, pretty easy to stand on your principle in those circumstances. So it's harder, I think, when, in fact, people don't pat you on the back and people don't agree with you, and when you don't win, when, in fact, you lose, which is what has happened to myself and the other 6. We've reached the end of, the legal process here, and, we lost. We were hoping to get our jobs back, or at the very least be involved in some sort of a negotiation towards an actual settlement, one that we were a part of. And we were not a part of this. I mean, this was all hashed out, in a meeting over contract talks. So, when people say they're standing up for their principles, but, they lose and people disagree with them, I think that's where we really find the meaning of the phrase. Because, when it's easy, then it's maybe not worth as much. At least that's how I see it. So really then the only thing left to decide was, what to do with the check when it actually arrives. And my first thought was I was going to make a web video, and in which I ripped it up into 1,000 pieces and, basically said, screw everybody, and probably would have had some momentary and fleeting satisfaction out of that. And, who knows, maybe we would have gotten 1 million hits on YouTube, but probably not the really the professional and mature thing to do. So in consultation with Gene, what we've decided is I'm donating the check to the Indiana chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists, specifically their scholarship fund. So hopefully this money will go to some budding young journalist, who knows, maybe one that will someday contribute to the Indianapolis Star. And maybe in that way, you know, some small good will have come out of this whole long process, which, boy, if you think about it, is approaching a year now that this thing has been going on. So who knows? At least this way it's done with, and I feel like I can say I didn't take the money. I stood up on my principles even when it was difficult, and maybe did a small good thing. So in fact, this is then the web video that I was going to make with a slight adjustment. I'm not ripping up the check, but we do have the check there. You can take a look at it right yourself right there. So instead of ripping it up into a million little pieces, what we're doing, you can see there, we've endorsed that over to the Indiana Sigma Delta Chi Foundation, which is the scholarship fund of Indiana SBJ. So anyway, just wanted to put my coda on this whole long episode and tell you, you know, what standing on principle looks like to me. Thanks very much.